For 3 long days, the envelope lingered on my kitchen counter, a silent challenge waiting for me to muster the courage to unveil its secrets. A simple white envelope carefully addressed to Mrs. Rebecca Mitchell, lacking any return address. There was an unsettling quality to it, reminiscent of a fateful moment, as if a hidden force was poised to disrupt the harmony of my meticulously arranged existence. As I was getting ready for our 20th anniversary celebration, the moment finally came. 2 decades spent alongside James, the esteemed surgeon community figure, and the person around whom I had woven the fabric of my entire adult existence. The man had grown more and more remote over the past year, attributing his withdrawal to long hospital shifts and the weight of administrative duties. On that Tuesday morning, just a few days before our anniversary celebration, I took a moment to slice open the envelope while enjoying my morning coffee. The aroma of luxurious fragrance drifted from the creased leaves. A knot formed in my stomach even before I turned the first page. Dear Mrs. Mitchell, it started with graceful penmanship. We may not have met, but I have shared a professional relationship with your husband that became personally significant. The mug slipped from my grasp, crashing onto the Italian marble floor that James had so passionately chosen during our latest renovation adventure. The warm coffee spilled onto my bare legs, yet I hardly noticed the sensation. My gaze was fixed on the letter, 3 pages filled with personal disclosures from a woman named Sophia. She recounted their initial encounter at a medical conference in Chicago, detailing how James had slipped off his wedding ring before making his way to her at the hotel bar. She painted a picture of the vacations they shared while I was under the impression he was attending medical symposiums, the vows he had whispered about parting ways with me after our anniversary when the moment felt appropriate, his grievances about me that he shared with her, and the way he chuckled at my innocence. She wrote to me revealing that she has come to understand the truth. He has been deceiving us both. He shared that you seemed distant, focused solely on your career, and that your marriage appeared to be more about maintaining a facade. However, I've been keeping an eye on your social media. I can tell what you feel when you gaze at him. He is unworthy of both of us. The last paragraph revealed secrets that only someone deeply connected to my husband could possibly understand, intimate details about birthmarks, preferences, and habits that left no room for denial. She concluded with, I regret having to be the bearer of this news, but I believed you should be informed before marking 2 decades of deception. I read the letter 3 times, each word etching itself into my mind. The graceful handwriting, the luxurious paper. She had approached this revelation with great care. This was not a moment of envy. It was a carefully crafted message exchanged between 2 women. My hands shook with a mix of excitement and nostalgia as I gently folded the pages and placed them back into the envelope. I took a moment to reflect on the anniversary celebration. Just 4 days remained until our vow renewal ceremony, accompanied by a reception for 150 of our dearest friends and family. All the important figures in our social circle would be present. Individuals from James's hospital, my publishing team, our families, childhood friends, observers of our seemingly admirable union. I walked through our 4,000 square foot home, the home I decorated, maintained, and turned into the perfect backdrop for James's success story. The place where I had welcomed friends and colleagues, creating a backdrop for his professional journey. All the while setting aside my own dreams of writing. The place where I had cared for him during his residency, stood by him in the wake of his father's passing, and patiently endured the long years of longing for the children I yearned for. 2 decades spent with a man who could shed his commitment as effortlessly as one might slip off a jacket. I reached out to my closest companion, Natalie, making sure my tone remained calm and composed. Would you be able to swing by? I could use your assistance with an aspect of the gathering. Before long, she found herself seated across from me at the kitchen island, the atmosphere ripe for sharing moments and memories. The words exchanged between us painted a vivid picture, her expression shifting from disbelief to fury to deep sorrow for what I was experiencing, that deceitful, untrustworthy scoundrel. She shared a tale softly, Becca. I truly apologize. Don't be. I replied, astonished by the serenity in my tone. The party is definitely still on. Are you really considering going ahead with the vow renewal? she inquired with disbelief. A grin spread across my face as a fresh understanding enveloped me. Oh, we're absolutely going to have a ceremony. It's simply not the one that James has in mind. Whispers of fate had lingered in the air from the very beginning. I simply didn't wish to encounter them. The late nights, the suddenly locked phone, the business trips that seemed to increase over the past year. The unfamiliar cologne, the way he would subtly turn away to send a message when he thought I wasn't paying attention. Classic signs that I, a writer who had meticulously crafted pieces on the warning signs of relationships, had deliberately overlooked in my own marriage. As I revisited Sophia's letter that evening, recollections emerged like shadows breaking the surface of murky depths. Half a year back, he spotted a long blonde hair on his suit jacket and brushed it off, thinking it likely belonged to that new surgical nurse. Once upon a time, 3 months ago, I found a credit card statement that included a charge from a jewelry store, a place where I never received a gift from. It's for my mother's birthday, he had mentioned. His mother's birthday loomed 4 months ahead, yet the deepest pain seemed to stem not from the affair itself. It became clear to me how James had gradually distanced me from others over the years, how he had quietly chipped away at my self-esteem, my dreams, and my connections. He would often remark that my writing is a delightful pastime whenever I brought up the idea of diving back into journalism full-time, but my role demands a specific kind of support at home. During her last visit, my mother pointed out that I seemed unhappy. Later, James remarked that my mother has always harbored jealousy towards our success. Perhaps we ought to consider reducing the frequency of those visits. After I befriended another doctor's wife who inspired me to chase my MFA, James started to come up with excuses to skip our couple's dinners with them. He remarked that she was a negative force in your life, constantly filling your mind with these restless notions. In the journey of my life, I found myself surrendering fragments of who I was, little by little as the years passed, all the while convinced that I was crafting something significant with a partner who valued me. The following morning, I made my way to the hospital where James was set to undergo his surgery. I was aware that he would be out of reach for a minimum of 4 hours. There was Lisa, his administrative assistant, a constant source of warmth and friendliness even in the face of James's grumbling about her supposed inefficiency. "Rebecca, what a delightful surprise," she exclaimed, her face lighting up with genuine joy at my arrival. "James is currently undergoing surgery and will be in there until at least 2 o'clock. As I gently closed her office door, I expressed my desire to have a conversation with her. "I'm looking for assistance with planning a special surprise for our anniversary." Her expression brightened with joy. "Absolutely. What would you like me to share?" James lost track of some details regarding his Chicago conference. From last September specifically, about a presentation he delivered that he wishes to include in his speech. "Would you be able to gather those files for me? What are the dates? Could you share some details about the hotel?" Lisa paused briefly, a glimmer of emotion passing over her features before she gave a nod. "Allow me to share what I possess." As she scoured her computer, I nonchalantly inquired. "He spoke of encountering a significant connection there, Sophia perhaps." It seems fitting to recognize her contributions in the acknowledgments, especially if she played a vital role in his work. Lisa's fingers paused in midair, suspended above her keyboard. The moment of silence was short, yet revealing. "I don't remember a Sophia," she said with caution. "However, I have the ability to review the list of attendees." I observed her as she retrieved the files, keenly aware of her deliberate avoidance of my gaze. With a strained smile, she handed me a stack of printed documents. "Rebecca," she murmured softly as I began to walk away. "If you ever want to share your thoughts or experiences, I'm here to listen." The understanding reflected in her gaze revealed it all. She was aware. Perhaps she had even played a part in weaving some of his fabrications. As I settled into my car, I began to sift through the documents, letting the details unfold like a narrative waiting to be told. James had certainly made his way to the Chicago conference, yet he chose to linger for an extra 3 days, shrouded in mystery without any official explanation. Once upon a time, a hotel receipt revealed the tale of room service charges for two. As I sat at home, my mind wandered to the moments of breakfast in bed for him and Sophia, all the while believing he was out there saving lives. That evening, James returned home later than he typically did. I welcomed him with a glass of his favorite whiskey, accompanied by a smile that seemed to be a facade carefully placed upon my face. "How's the speech for the anniversary shaping up?" I inquired. "I've been crafting my narrative all day." He relaxed his tie, a fleeting look of unease crossing his face. "I'm in the process of crafting it. I'm not the best when it comes to speaking in front of others." "That's not what Sophia says," I remarked, nonchalantly observing his expression. The glass lingered in the air, suspended just before reaching his lips. Our gazes locked, a silent exchange filled with unspoken truths. "Who is it?" he inquired, his tone impeccably measured. "Sophia," I said once more. "Are you referring to the surgical nurse with the blonde hair who has a type A personality? The individual who consistently takes the lead in planning department gatherings. She shared how captivating your presentation in Chicago was." The expression of relief that washed over his face was nearly laughable. "Ah, I see I had completely overlooked her presence." I whispered, glancing away to hide the tears that were on the verge of falling. "I'm heading off to Dreamland early tonight. Tomorrow marks a significant occasion as we put the finishing touches on our celebration." As I ascended the stairs, I caught the sound of his voice on the phone, low and filled with urgency. "Beware, Sophia, without a doubt, weaving intricate tales to mask the past." That night, as I lay next to the man I referred to as my husband, a significant realization washed over me. For years, I found myself haunted by the thought of losing James, the fear of solitude creeping in, and the worry of shattering the life we had carefully crafted together. Yet as I absorbed the rhythm of his steady breaths, it became clear to me that I had already forfeited all that was truly significant. I had become a stranger to myself. In that moment, fear vanished like a whisper in the wind. The following morning, I rose with a profound sense of understanding regarding the actions that lay ahead. This was more than merely revealing James's betrayal. It was a journey of rediscovering my voice after enduring years of quietude. As James enjoyed his shower, I took the opportunity to replicate Sophia's letter, carefully stashing the original away in my safety deposit box at the bank. The proof required safeguarding. After that, I reached out to Natalie. I instructed her to reach out to all the guests attending the ceremony, not to cancel, just to ensure their presence. Particularly, the members of James's hospital board, informed them that a significant announcement is on the way. "Do you really believe this is the right path?" she inquired. With a certainty I hadn't felt in ages, I responded, "Once James headed off to work, I took a drive to visit my former law professor, Marcus Chen, who had grown into a cherished family friend years ago. I had the opportunity to edit his legal textbook long before James persuaded me to dedicate my efforts entirely to advancing his career. Marcus absorbed every word as I unfolded the entire narrative. The intrigue, the manipulation, the monetary challenges. I shared the tale of how James had urged me to place my inheritance into our joint accounts, how he had woven a narrative that kept me tethered to him. "Financially, I have no intention of bringing him down, Marcus," I said. "All I seek is justice, and I desire for the truth to be revealed." Marcus considered deeply. "Rebecca, I wanted to share something interesting with you. James reached out to me last month regarding the possibility of updating your beneficiary designations." A chill coursed through my veins. "Could you clarify that he mentioned that you both had come to a consensus to designate his hospital foundation as the main beneficiary of your life insurance and retirement accounts? I shared with him that it was essential for both parties to be there for those changes to take place." A tale spun once more, a betrayal that cuts deeper than I ever envisioned. With a sense of anticipation, Marcus retrieved his laptop. "Let's explore the rights and privileges that are yours by law. Now let's dive into the narrative for your anniversary event." When I stepped out of his office, I felt equipped with a deep understanding of my financial rights and a solid plan for the ceremony ahead. Marcus had woven a connection for me with a forensic accountant who would delve into our finances without delay. My next destination was to visit Dr. Eleanor West, the chief of surgery at the hospital and James's direct superior. Although our paths had crossed at various hospital events, James had consistently steered clear of a deeper bond, asserting that Eleanor was challenging and fraught with political intricacies. She greeted me in her office with a heartfelt embrace. "Rebecca, what an unexpected delight. Is everything okay?" I couldn't quite say that. I confessed I would like to have a private conversation with you regarding James. For the next hour, I wove together the intriguing details of my discoveries. Eleanor's demeanor was composed, yet I could see her fingers grip the coffee mug a little more firmly. She finally revealed that her suspicions arose when she noticed inconsistencies in the Whitley grant application. James shared a narrative about his preliminary research, but it seemed to diverge from the records kept by our department. I inquired about the Whitley grant. This was a fresh revelation. Eleanor paused, contemplating her next words. "It's an esteemed opportunity for exploration and discovery. James takes the lead in this endeavor, yet the foundation insists on full openness from everyone participating, which includes sharing financial details." I inquired, my mind swirling with thoughts of the enigmatic transactions I had unearthed in our accounts, particularly those intriguing ones. She leaned in, eager to share her tale. "Rebecca, if you have something special in mind, you might want to consider that the hospital board will be attending your anniversary celebration, and that includes Walter Whitley himself." A smile spread across my face. I have high hopes for it. The last stage of my preparation proved to be the toughest challenge I faced. I reached out to my parents, who had always held a special fondness for James. They had woven together a plan to soar in for the ceremony the next day. "Mother, father," I spoke with caution, "before you step foot here, there's a tale waiting to be shared with you." My mother inhaled sharply as I unveiled the secret. My father fell quiet, the kind of silence that spoke volumes when he was genuinely upset. "We'll be on the next flight," my mother shared this evening. "It's not the best time to be by yourself." I assured them that the ceremony would go on as planned. "I truly need both of you by my side, cheering me on. Are you able to accomplish that?" "Whatever you require," my father declared, his voice heavy with feeling. "We're here for you, dear." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself at my vanity, gazing into the mirror, lost in thought while getting ready for our pre-anniversary dinner with dear friends. The woman gazing back at me appeared transformed, imbued with a newfound strength and resolve. Her eyes sharp and unwavering, James approached from behind, his hands gently resting on my shoulders. "You look beautiful," he whispered, pressing his lips gently against my neck. Our gazes locked in the reflection before us. All day, I've been crafting my vows I shared with him. I believe my words will catch everyone off guard. My tone caught him off guard for a moment, but he swiftly regained his composure. "I'm eager to listen to them," he said with a charming smile. As we made our way to the restaurant, James took my hand, a gesture that used to ignite a sense of warmth within me, yet now felt like just another act in a play for a marriage that was merely a facade. I kept my hand in his, my mind wandering to Sophia's letter, hidden away Marcus's legal maneuvers, Eleanor's surprising news about the grant, and the forensic accountant who was already peeling back the layers of James's financial lies. "I love you," James said as we arrived at the restaurant, the anticipation hanging in the air. I faced him, a smile gracing my lips, yet it failed to illuminate my eyes. "I understand the depth of your affection for me," I responded, "and by tomorrow the tales will spread and everyone will be in the know." On the morning of our special day, the sun rose with a brilliant clarity, setting the perfect stage for the memories we were about to create. It struck me as deeply meaningful, illuminating the long-concealed reality that was waiting to be revealed. The ceremony was set to unfold at 4 p.m. in the enchanting garden of the country club, a place that had once hosted our wedding reception 2 decades ago. A beautiful ceremony to reaffirm love, surrounded by 150 cherished friends and family, culminating in an evening filled with delightful dining and joyful dancing. James had been adamant about the lavishness. "We've truly deserved this moment," he had remarked. That morning, my parents made their way to our house, arriving with the first light of day. My mother's eyes, red-rimmed yet resolute, held a tale of strength. My father embraced me with a surprising intensity. He leaned in closer and shared, "We've created your own accounts just in case." My father was a man of practicality. James was unexpectedly considerate throughout the morning, serving me coffee and inquiring if I required anything for the ceremony. I found myself pondering whether Sophia had given him a heads up, if he had any inkling of what lay ahead. Yet his gaze revealed nothing beyond the familiar self-absorption, the polished allure he had honed through years of crafting his career's image. Natalie showed up to lend a hand, accompanied by the makeup artist and hairstylist as they toiled away, shaping me into the ideal image of a committed partner. Natalie assured me that every single person, without exception, would be present: the hospital board, his fellow surgeons, and even that pharmaceutical representative he's been collaborating with. She shared the news. Indeed, it was Walter Whitley himself who provided the confirmation. I glanced up, locking eyes with her reflection in the glass. What about Sophia? This morning she embraced the invitation and will be present. My heart raced within my chest, yet my determination remained steadfast. At 3:30, we stepped into the venue, ready for the unfolding events ahead. James ventured out to welcome the guests, while I lingered in the bridal suite, seemingly occupied with last-minute preparations. In truth, I was reflecting on the narratives I had gathered, the letter, the financial records, and the text messages I had unearthed from our shared cloud account, which James had overlooked, revealing a hidden narrative waiting to be told. As the clock struck 4 p.m., the melodies filled the air. As I strolled down the garden path, the vibrant blooms framed my journey toward the arch, where James stood, a confident smile lighting up his face. Our guests found their places in graceful white chairs lining the aisle, their expressions glowing with joy and festivity. As I strolled through the throng, my eyes wandered, searching for familiar faces and hidden tales among the sea of people. In the third row sat Walter Whitley, with Eleanor West by his side, accompanied by James's surgical team and the members of the hospital board. In a quiet corner, a striking blonde woman caught my eye, her face familiar from the well-concealed images I had stumbled upon in James's secondary email account. Sophia, our officiant, and a judge who shared many rounds of golf with James, wore a warm smile as I stood across from my husband. James took my hands, his gaze filled with pure adoration, a flawless act unfolding before me. Today we come together to witness the beautiful reaffirmation of love between James and Rebecca Mitchell. The judge began, 2 decades filled with shared experiences, admiration, and unwavering loyalty. A chuckle threatened to escape at the irony, but I held it back. Before they share their renewed vows, James and Rebecca have crafted heartfelt messages for one another. James, would you care to start us off? James took a moment to gather himself, then pulled out a carefully creased piece of paper from his pocket. Rebecca. He began, his voice resonating throughout the garden. 2 decades ago, I made a vow to hold you dear and treasure every moment with you. Today I gather with our loved ones to renew that commitment. He shared heartfelt sentiments about collaboration and appreciation, reflecting on my unwavering support throughout his journey and expressing excitement for the many more years ahead of us. His performance unfolded beautifully, resonating with emotion at precisely the right moments, exuding humility while maintaining a sense of confidence. As he concluded, the audience was visibly moved, tears streaming down their faces, but I remained untouched. Rebecca, the judge, encouraged, would you like to weave your vows into a beautiful narrative? Now indeed, I expressed my intention unequivocally. I moved away from James, pivoting a bit to engage with our guests face to face. From my clutch, I pulled out not note cards, but the letter from Sophia. I had intended to craft my own vows. I started, my voice unwavering, but I recently came across a more genuine reflection on our marriage that I wished to convey instead. James's expression shifted from bewilderment to a growing sense of urgency. He moved just a fraction closer, but the moment had already slipped away. Dear Mrs. Mitchell. I read aloud, letting my voice carry to the farthest corners of the room. While we may be strangers, I've shared a professional relationship with your husband that became personally significant. A wave of astonishment swept across the crowd. I pressed on my voice, gaining confidence with every line that unfolded their secret romance. I recounted the vacations, the deceptions, the vows James had uttered about departing from my life. James's face lost all its hue. "Rebecca, hold on," he whispered urgently. "This is unbelievable. I chose to overlook him, immersing myself in the pages before me." As I delved into the sections that revealed their close encounters, James suddenly reached for the letter with urgency. "That's quite enough," he exclaimed. Out of nowhere, my father and Marcus Chen appeared, placing themselves right in the middle of us. The crowd was alive with excitement, whispers, and sharp intakes of breath filling the air. Chairs scraped against the floor, while eager spectators rose to catch every moment of the captivating scene before them. James recalled out, my voice slicing through the clamor. "Maybe you could share with our guests, including the hospital board and Mr. Whitley, the reasoning behind the transfer of funds from our joint accounts to an offshore account last month, which just so happens to match the amount of the Whitley Foundation grant." Eleanor West rose to her feet. "James, is this a tale worth telling?" James's face twisted in a way that revealed a surge of panic, a stark contrast to his typically composed demeanor. "This is something personal," he hesitated to say. "Rebecca is unmistakably what James," I interjected, fully cognizant of the fact that you've been manipulating research data, fully cognizant of your embezzlement of grant funds, or fully cognizant of the double life you've been leading. I pivoted to meet the gaze of our guests head on. "I'm sorry for this open revelation, but I can no longer be part of another falsehood. For years I stood by James as he quietly chipped away at my own aspirations. I stood by him even when my friends noticed things that escaped my attention. I've poured my inheritance into the life we've built together, all while he was quietly plotting his escape." Across the crowd, individuals were rising to their feet now. Walter Whitley found himself in a pressing dialogue with Eleanor West James's colleagues, displayed a spectrum of emotions, from disbelief to a sense of justice fulfilled. It seems I wasn't alone in my suspicions. And then I caught a glimpse of her, Sophia, gliding softly toward the door. In a fleeting moment, our gazes intertwined amidst the vibrant blooms of the garden. Her gaze held no victory, just a deep understanding of the weight of the moment. She shared with me the moments before vanishing. I glanced back at James, who remained motionless as his seemingly flawless existence began to unravel before him. In that moment, I finally glimpsed the truth behind the facade. He was no longer just the accomplished surgeon or the charismatic husband. Instead, he revealed himself as a profoundly insecure individual whose achievements were constructed on a foundation of deceit and cunning. As the weight of the situation settled upon him, the professional fallout, the personal disgrace, the financial turmoil, James Mitchell, renowned surgeon, found himself in tears, not soft weeping but intense anguished cries that doubled him over, before the eyes of all those who had ever held him in esteem, before the hospital board that was about to delve into his affairs, before the colleagues who held him in high regard, before those who had longed for the ideal union we shared. I have initiated the process of ending my marriage. I spoke softly, yet in the hushed stillness my words reached every ear. This morning, the papers made their way to your office. I have shared compelling evidence of financial irregularities with both the hospital board and the Whitley Foundation. I took off my wedding ring and set it down on the podium. For quite some time, James, our union has felt like a grand act on a stage. The curtain has fallen on today's performance as I made my way back up the aisle standing tall. I caught the murmurs, noticed the astonished expressions, and with every step, I sensed the burden of 2 decades being released from my shoulders. As I walked, my parents and Natalie joined me, creating a familiar rhythm in our journey together. Marcus Chen was already engrossed in his phone, likely orchestrating the next chapter of our legal strategy. Behind me, James stood at the altar, vulnerable and shattered, at last confronting the repercussions of his choices. The months that came after what we fondly referred to as the revelation were a mix of challenges and unexpected ease far beyond what I had imagined. More challenging, as unraveling a 2-decade union means navigating through a web of intricate legal, financial, and emotional complexities. It became simpler as I untangled each connection, revealing a truer version of myself that had been hidden for years. The journey through the divorce unfolded quickly. In a moment of urgency, James, eager to protect his standing, found himself accepting a substantial settlement. In a dramatic turn of events, the hospital board decided to delve deep into his research and financial dealings leading to his suspension while the matter is thoroughly examined. The Whitley Foundation decided to pull back on their grant consideration and began their own audit process. I turned down every interview request from the local media, choosing to overlook the rumors and chatter that naturally arose from such public attention. Instead, I concentrated on reconstructing not only my existence, but also my identity. 3 months after the ceremony, I found myself in Marcus Chen's office signing the final divorce papers. As I set the pen aside, he smoothly pushed a business card over the desk. He shared insights as the editor-in-chief at Berkeley Press. "She's captivated by your book proposal." I gazed at the card, momentarily lost for words. The manuscript, a thoughtful exploration of how high-achieving women frequently find themselves in the background of their own narratives, had been my hidden endeavor for months. I didn't put forth a proposal. I mentioned, Marcus beamed with joy. Natalie proceeded with your notes and sample chapters, mentioning that you granted her permission. I hadn't realized it, but my best friend had a remarkable ability to sense my needs before I even acknowledged them. Half a year after the ceremony, my parents came to my aid as I settled into a bright apartment in the city. A contemporary haven with views of the park, a stark contrast to the classic colonial house that James had deemed suitable for a surgeon's spouse. I adorned it with books, art, and furniture that spoke to my personal style rather than a meticulously crafted facade. On a cool autumn evening, I gathered friends for my inaugural dinner party. It was just Natalie, my parents Marcus and his wife, and Eleanor West, who had grown into a friend and mentor as I journeyed through my newfound independence. "Have you received any word from him?" Eleanor inquired softly as we lingered on my balcony after dinner. I gently shook my head, a silent response to the unfolding narrative. Not in a straightforward manner, his attorney shares that he has accepted a role at a hospital in Phoenix. "What about Sophia?" A faint smile graced my lips. "She reached out to me through an email. She has returned to Chicago, diving into her PhD journey." Once more, she expressed her regrets. "Will you let go of the past and embrace a new chapter with her?" Eleanor inquired. I pondered this. I believe I do. In her own journey, she too fell victim to deception. In the end, she made the choice that was meant to be. The reality was, my frustration had transformed into a feeling more akin to appreciation. Sophia's letter sparked the journey to my liberation, challenging yet essential. 1 year after the momentous event, my book was released to widespread praise. On the day it soared to the top of the bestseller list, a small package arrived at my doorstep. Within the box lay a classic fountain pen accompanied by a note that stated, "For signing your next contract." Some conclusions are truly new starts. I could tell it was from Sophia just by the way the letters danced across the page. As the day drew to a close, I found myself on my balcony, captivated by the way the sunset transformed the city into a canvas of shimmering gold. Reflecting on the woman I was a year back, I remember the struggle to maintain a marriage that was merely a facade, where I gave up my dreams and sense of self for someone who had never genuinely acknowledged my existence. I reflected on the time I rose before the crowd and took back my voice by sharing that letter. The instant when a lifetime of silent endurance blossomed into power. The phone buzzed to life, my literary agent on the line bringing tidings of foreign rights sales for the book. She exclaimed with enthusiasm, "They're referring to you as the voice of a movement. Women from all walks of life are connecting with your narrative." Once the call ended, I lingered on the balcony, observing the city as it transformed under the embrace of night. In the distance, the hospital loomed, a place filled with memories of countless fundraisers and galas where I had donned a flawless smile while being introduced as Dr. Mitchell's wife. Now I was simply Rebecca, a storyteller, a woman, a survivor, the main character in my own narrative. I lifted my wine glass in a quiet tribute to Sophia, wherever she might be, to the message that had broken my dreams and liberated my spirit. Once certain truths are shared, they linger in the air, impossible to erase. Some letters once unveiled transform everything. Occasionally, witnessing another's tears in a public space can mark the beginning of your own journey to recovery.